Good day, everyone. Welcome to the R4C, so Regions for Climate webinar about RRI, Responsible Research and Innovation, Ethics Management, and Responsible Research and Innovation Road Mapping, and maybe Impact Assessment, some words about that. More general information about the project you can find from the project website, which we will put for you in the chat. My name is Veikko Ikonen from VTT, Technical Research Center of Finland, and I will chair this session. At the VTT, I currently act as a manager of Responsible Research and Innovation, and in the R4C project, my title is Ethics Manager. Please mute yourself now.
Si, mais je ferai ce que je peux, chérie.
Yeah, try to mute yourself. I'm in the middle of the introduction. So ethics management in the R4C project is composed by the ethics manager, so me, ethics task force, so Giovanna Sanchez-Nieminen and Essi Laitinen from VTT, my colleagues, ethics board, so that's composed by 13 regional partners and our external ethics advisor, Emad Jakmäe, who will give the presentation later on today. So today we will share with you two excellent presentations. First one by my colleague from VTT, Giovanna, who will give you an introduction to the RRI approach and how it will be integrated to the R4C project. And the second presentation will come from our external ethics advisor, Emad Jakmäe, who will focus on developing a path or roadmap for responsible research and innovation. So present themselves will give you a short intro about themselves. So during these talks, you can already send your comments, feedback, questions to the chat. After the presentations, around 20 minutes each, we will stop the recording. So we are already now recording this session and open the webinar for the open Q&A questions and answers slot. So you can also present your comments, feedback, and questions by yourself at that time, and just raise your hand virtually for the talk. So in total, we have reserved for this session about 1 hour. So without any other further ado, screen is yours, Giovanna, for the first presentation.
Thank you so much, Veikko. Thank you all who joined. I will give you words of introduction about what we mean by responsible research and innovation in the Regions4Climate project. So in the kickoff meeting in January, we asked you to describe in 3 words what responsibility in research means to you. And some of the main words that came up were ethics, transparency, collaboration, integrity, inclusivity, accountability, which are all very much related to the actual term. Responsible research and innovation in the past few years became kind of a buzzword when it comes to research and innovation funded by EU. But it's very important to understand the meaning behind and the context where this term is placed. So science and technology revolutionize human capabilities, enabling livelihoods, modifications, and even altering the Earth's climate. Research and innovation drive improvements in our world and lives, with ongoing potential for progress, as we all know. Yet, alongside their positive impact on human welfare, science and technology can also create ethical dilemmas and encounter challenges, leading to harmful outcomes for the environment and society. It's in this context that RRI aims to address research and innovation issues transparently, foresee outcomes, and engage society in discussions to enhance well-being and life on Earth. Responsible research and innovation is composed by 6 pillars. It's a framework made of 6 main pillars, which are ethics, science education, public engagement, gender equality, that also means inclusiveness, open access, and governance. Today, Specifically, we are going to focus on 5 of these pillars, the ones in green, and we are going to leave the governance one for later, as governance is mostly related to national state level decision making and not so much to the research project reality that we have in the R4C. So starting with the ethics. In R4C, in the beginning of the year, we developed the deliverable ethics plan, which comprises our main ideas and core understandings on what ethics is in R4C and what considerations we should be made. This is a deliverable that it's available for all partners, should be read by all partners, because it's a great supporting tool for your work. And also soon it will be publicly available in our website. But it's important to understand that ethics, it's a term that encompasses many different things in our research reality. It can be about research integrity, ensuring the quality of research and its outcomes, protecting data collected, developing and reporting research in an unbiased way, respecting colleagues and research participants. But it can also be about engagement, regarding to ethics approval by local authorities, knowledge and compliance to relevant European and local legislation, and informed consent forms. Not only that, ethics can also be about dissemination, related to the fairness and transparency regarding authorship of publications, non-disclosure of personal data, plagiarism issues, and respect for the Region4Climate's terms of confidentiality, for example. To support your work, we have developed in the R4C the ethics checklists that can be found also in our deliverable in Annex 1 and 2. The ethics checklists are supposed to work as a reminder for us who are working in the R4C innovation activities. One, it's focused primarily on stakeholder activities, that it should be read and utilized by all of you who are planning and engaging with stakeholders. And the other, it's more general, and it focuses on all our research and innovation actions. This one, it's relevant for all partners of R4C. At some point or another, it will be very useful, a support tool for you to do the ethics assessment in practice in the day-to-day activities. As Veiko already mentioned briefly, the ethics management in Regions4Climate is divided in different parts, which are all interrelated. So we have our ethics manager, Veiko, who is our internal expert, primarily contact for ethics and RRI issues in the project. He will provide guidance for the development of ethical guidelines specific to the R4C activities. And we who are supporting him, me and my colleague Essie, can also be contacted in case you have any issues or questions. Because it's important to remember that in every research project, including R4C, the ethics and responsible research and innovation work, it's preventive work as well. So if you spot some issue, if you have a question, it's better to contact us beforehand than waiting for the problem to become much bigger, when it will be much harder to deal with it. So we are always at an email reach that you can contact us and we can discuss, even if you think it's something rather small. We also have the ethics board that is composed by 13 members, the ethics manager, plus one representative of each region. This is also an option. You can contact your representative and explain your issues and worries. And in the ethics board, we actively discuss and take action on already identified and emerging ethics concerns. The ethics board meets at least twice in a year, but also in ad hoc situations, the meeting can be arranged. And we have also the ethics advisor, that it's our external independent expert. But moving on to other aspects of the RRI, we will talk about the gender equality. Gender equality became a very core issue for the European Commission in the European research area. In the past 10 years, it has grown more and more and more, and now it encompasses inclusivity in general, so not only gender equality. And we have a series of policy frameworks and recommendations, for instance, the European Commission Gender Equality Strategy that it's ongoing. And in more practical manners, the European Commission has made available for researchers the Gendered Innovations 1 and most recently 2, that it gives more practical tools, methods, and theories that can be utilized to include the gender dimension in research and innovation content. For some, it might seem quite theoretical or abstract, but actually there are really practical steps that we can take to make our research more gender aware. For instance, to conduct literature review that includes sex and gender as keywords in the topic that we are researching. For example, energy transition. We can do a quick literature including the gender word and see how this affects specifically gender questions. And we can verify existing gender theories that concern the subject of research, or consider how sex and gender may influence the research and data gaps that were found. We have a very good example within the Regions4Climate project. One of our regions, the Basque County, recently published a report on the climate change in the Basque Country from a gender point of view. And in this report, interesting gender-related findings were found. So, for instance, Basque women follow more sustainable patterns of mobility and food, but suffer most from energy poverty, which shows, just as a very good example, how these lenses can be very informative to us as researchers. I would like to propose to us also a few self-reflective questions, that we don't need to answer now, of course, but just to keep in mind on how to address gender equality in everyday practices. So, for instance, how is the Regions4Climate project personnel trained in topics of gender equality and inclusion? Are our meetings organized in a manner that is accessible to all genders and bodies? Is all research personnel valued and heard, regardless of their gender, career stage, or nationality? Are our scientific publications, social media posts, newsletters, pamphlets, and other communication materials written using inclusive language? This is a very important aspect that is also overseen, and we have tackled this specific point of inclusive language in our deliverable with practical instructions on how we can do that, even in different languages. When organizing panels, seminars, and conferences, is the participation of diverse genders, career stages, nationalities, and etc. considered beyond the audience? Because often we try to think this when we are inviting people to join our events, but what about the speakers and the mediators and the panelists at the event? Are we taking these things into consideration? Just some questions for food for thought. Another important pillar, it's the science education, particularly when it comes to a project that's so focused on climate and climate resilience. To implement science education that will translate into responsible citizenship in the future. That's the goal proposed by the Commission, and this is one of the things that we should thought also on achieving in the R4C. The spread of fake news and misconceptions around climate change and climate adaptation topics refrain citizens from engaging in transformative change, as we all well know. So the acquisition of critical thinking and collaborative learning skills is super important. Aligned with the European Commission goals for science education, the knowledge shared by R4C partners should promote individual reflection and empowerment when tackling climate action, and enable citizens to make well-informed and evidence-based choices when it comes to their active citizen participation. Open access is another pillar that is very much linked to the science education. And in the case of our project, we should think beyond scientific publications. The open access for us should be about science democratization, about accessibility, accountability, and transparency, in a way that scientific publications, pamphlets, fact sheets, and other relevant materials that we have are written in local languages so that the information can be widespread across regions and interested parties. Also, our communications material, either written or spoken, should come in a non-academic manner as well, so that the general public can understand and benefit from the information that we create and that we share. We should think of facilitating the access to public data produced by the project to the widest public possible. And the R4C scientific and technical articles should be published as Gold Open Access or Green Open Access. This is also defined in our ethics plan. According to the European Union, it's their understanding that the EU-funded research should be as open as possible and as closed as necessary. Last but not least is the public engagement pillar, which is also very, very important in a project like the Regions4Climate, in which we have so much engagement activities with citizens. Engaging citizens in research practices can lead to more effective research and innovation processes, more suited to meet their needs and expectations. This is the general understanding of RRI on public engagement. The basic procedure for the involvement of participants in the activities of research and innovation project is comprised of 3 steps. First, awareness, which most of us have already tackled, I believe, that it's informing potential partners about the project and activities. Second, interest. Also, I believe this is already covered, defined with stakeholder common vision and targets for the action and participation. And last, commitment, continuous interaction between stakeholders and shared understanding of further actions. We should think beyond the European GDPR and data management also as one of the difficulties when it comes to public engagement, let's say. There are other challenges. For instance, how do we consider the diversity, equality, and inclusion principles? In R4C, they should be applied in the recruitment and participation activities in order to enable the participation of different groups of individuals, including but not limited to people of different ethnicities, abilities, and gender in a fair and inclusive manner. To achieve that, the identification of understanding of vulnerabilities across regions and the potential barriers to the participation to research activity, it's key. In R4C, regional vulnerability survey interviews are currently ongoing, and the initial findings are already emerging. This is very important to guide our work. Adopting measures to remove these barriers and contribute to the well-being of vulnerable groups. We should really think into that. And ensuring the role of citizens and other stakeholders as participants should not be limited to subjects or givers, their time, knowledge, and effort in research activities. But instead, the citizens and other stakeholders are also recipients, and they should receive the benefits, the fruits of the research activities. Such important pillars as public engagement in this project deserves also a few self-reflective questions. For instance, when planning engagement activities in local communities, is diversity, considering socioeconomic status, educational level, sex, gender, age, ethnicity, among the citizens considered? What are the barriers out there for the participation of diverse individuals in R4C stakeholder engagement activities? And most importantly, what actions can be taken to overcome such barriers? How can the R4C ensure the engagement and participatory activities will not disproportionately burden vulnerable groups? And last but not least, in what ways can R4C empower different groups during the span of the project through, for instance, sharing knowledge, allowing space for different voices to be heard, and power to be shared over the research agenda with the inclusion of citizens' needs and interests? Those are really complex questions, but they must be thought. They must be reflected upon. But all of us, especially those who are very much behind the planning and the execution of our stakeholder engagement activities. As we don't have much time, this presentation has to come to its end soon. But I would like to emphasize here that the RRI and the ethics, it's a process that already started with our commitment during the proposal preparation, and it will go through the entire duration of the project until its exploitation. And in this whole time, in this process, we should really think about reflexivity, anticipation, responsiveness, and deliberation. This is a work that we do in VTT, yes, but it's something that it's a collaborative work. It's done with all the research partners. We need you all engaged and committed to this. And with these words, I will end my presentation. Thank you all very much for your attention. And here are the contact points for me, Veikko, and Essi, who can help you with that to navigate to the RRI and solve all your questions. Now it's with you, Veikko.
Thank you, Giovanna, for excellent presentation and summary. As mentioned, we will have our QA session at the end of the webinar, so save your questions there. We will go there without recording. So now it's your turn, Emad. I will give the screen. Maybe you can share a couple of words about you in the beginning.
Yes, I will do. Hello, everyone. My name is Emad. First of all, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Just presentation mode, please.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. We met in person with some of you in Helsinki in the kickoff meeting. I spoke a lot about responsible innovation that time. I will continue that myself. I'm director of the JACMA BV in Netherlands, also senior researcher at Delft University of Technology, working in both sides more or less in same topics regarding to strategic studies and foresight ethics, and of course responsible innovation also little part of that. So without any further ado, so I go for the presentation about responsible innovation, how this can be embedded into the regional activities. And responsible innovation, as presented by Giovanna, has a lot of principles to be embedded, but that is more at the principle level. How it can be embedded into the regions or into the other type of organization like companies, industry, and other types like NGOs that could need to be tailor-made. And then also is this transition and also the bridging the principles to the practical implementation action points within the your organization that could be on its own as a task. So you may have, as we already also discussed in Helsinki, you may have, and you probably do some stuff at the regional the regional stuff related to like ethics, gender, the stakeholder engagement, and so on and so forth. Maybe you don't call it responsible research innovation, responsible innovation abbreviation, but you may be aware of the let's say the components of the responsible innovation. And this is where RRI came to put all of them together and then give a kind of the guide or roadmap for doing more responsibility, sustainability related issues. But what is the demand, as nicely presented by Giovanna? So it's at the end is the she said about this anticipation, responsiveness, reflexivity, deliberation, and inclusivity. So that is a demand which comes to different type of organization, including regions, cities, and so means that of course you may have some foresight studies to better understand what's coming in the region, like a smart specialization, S3, S4. So these kind of the guideline or roadmap are the one basically gives you a guide in order to mitigate the risk and also anticipate it in the first place to deal with the uncertainty and unknown risk. And then since all of us, we are experiencing these transformative technologies in digitalization, in including AI and other related, like rapidly transforming technologies. These technologies actually backs to the region in one way or another, maybe not directly as type of the like a heat like company, but in one way or another needs to be also the regions need to be responsive to the social, ethical, economical impact of the transformative technologies. And of course, the inclusivity and deliberation will also be part of the RRI. And this is why we need RRI in the region. But there is, of course, the resources availability is somehow maybe limited. Some strategic studies and approaches is lacking in the different region, depending on also the country. Limited incentives for going for responsible innovation, and also limited references to the responsible innovation or any other type of terms that we use. The corporate social responsibility. Some regions maybe work with the ESG, environmental, social governance, responsible innovation, and so on and so forth. So, and of course, most of regions also be aware of the Sustainable Development Goals, which is also somehow aligned with what we're talking. So, okay, yes, yeah, yes, and then, so this is steps how we can go for being more innovate responsibly. Which I already also shows in the my presentation in Helsinki, that is start with the commitment and leadership. If there is no commitment and leadership, basically there is no way we go not only for RI but for any other terms. And if there is the commitment and leadership, it comes to the what is the context we are talking. Are we talking about of course the ideal case is to embed responsible innovation in all aspects of the regional activity, but it can also be started from the specific context. If your region is basically focused more in mobility, focused more in energy or health or whatever, so that is basically a context-oriented responsible innovation roadmap needs to be sketched for that. And that is probably backs to the smart specialization priorities in each territory. So you already have the context in your territory. You know that, okay, this is a prioritized context that needs to be taken into account, and therefore we can go for road mapping of responsible innovation for that particular context. Which comes to materiality, I will go through these steps one by one, which we couldn't do it in Helsinki, but now we go one by one to see what is actually mean. It comes to materiality, then goes to the experiment and engagement, and after experiment and engagement, you need basically comes to the point that we need to validate, okay, is it make sense or not, and measure it perhaps, and also have a roadmap for the regions in order to follow the responsibility in practice. So for the context analysis, partly I spoke about this looking at the RRI, or looking at it can be looking at RRI and embedded into the design and production or services, public services that provide, or it can be also look at those steps and the processes like design or regional or public services, and then see how we can embed region RRI into it. So, but anyway, so in any direction, responsible innovation action should be taken into the context that we are talking, if it's going to be like mobility, energy, or whatever. And then it comes to a lot of co-activities, so co-managing and then co-producing with the partners are in the region, and then co-designing and consulting and towards the point of the using. From the regional perspective, you probably have a ecosystem, innovation ecosystem in the regions, that innovation ecosystem in the region in a certain context. So imagine you have the ecosystem of the companies and other stakeholders within the context of energy, and that is the aim, to be more responsible, to address more values like different kind of the values like inequality, equality, and this kind of thing into their action. So this comes to the first steps. What is the context? And once you know the context, it comes to this level of materiality, which has the pre-steps of reflection and defining of what aspects actually need to be taken into account, which is partly or basically nicely presented before, about the gender equality, about the inclusivity, social values, about the transparency, ethical aspects, and so on. And these are the values, let's say, that is tailor-made for each region. And there is no one set of roadmap. We can say that at the end it comes out of the different regions. So there is no common roadmap, but there are different roadmap tailor-made for each region that basically align with their priorities at the first place, which is that comes to the context, and then comes to the fact that, okay, what is the actually material, what is important. So just to summarize, so you have summarized until now. So you probably have I mean, I'm fairly sure every region has this smart specialization. You have the list of 3-4, and then basically that is already prioritized. But one layer, a step forward, is the prioritization within those prioritized contexts. So energy is the context that we are talking as an example. So within the energy sector, or within the energy ecosystem in the regions, you want to embed more responsibility and sustainability. How to do it? Again, it needs to be sort of prioritization level, the relevance of that particular issue to you as a region, which comes to the vertical axis, and then the stakeholders you are engaged with. So imagine we have a region of Tampere in Finland, and these regions have different issues related to the context of energy in terms of the energy justice or energy efficiency. And then it comes to the fact that, okay, that particular issue, how much is important for the region, and how much is important actually for the stakeholders they are dealing with, which a stakeholder could be citizen, it could be companies, it could be industry in general, and it could also be NGOs and civil society members and public organization, other public organization. So these particular issues, of course, is in the context of the energy, but how much is important for for your region, in this case, the region of Tampere, and in the context of energy. And this comes to the different steps. The first steps, this was like a not material, not much important, but it still is issue, because we need to also think in, if we have it the full picture, these issues is also dynamic. So it's not issues that is the issue now is not important, and we said, okay, statistically, so it's not important 2 years. So it's not like that. So if we know the issues, then the issues can be also relevant issues, but not a strategically material now, but it can also be at the end material issues, which is more important issues that need to be taken into account. And this is varies from one region to another. And that is back to understanding of, for instance, within the context of RRI, which of the areas are more important for you as a region, for the region is more important than others at the moment. Of course, within this consideration that the other one is also need to be taken into account, but maybe different action points comes to it. So back to the like a roadmap. So I just back to show you the roadmap again to be sure we are here. So we have the context, we have the materiality, and we now go to the like steps for the regions to how to experiment and engage and then validate and then take a roadmap. So this goes to experiment level. So it's a key actions are regarding to those action. Actually, Giovanna explain about how we are going to do this ethics, how we are going to do the gender equality, stakeholder engagement, and so on. So it backs to I put it here like separately for anticipation and responsiveness, the 2 steps that she showed at the end, and also inclusion and reflection and deliberation at the end. So what are the action needed to be done? So probably the ethical analysis need to be done against the innovation or against the transformative technologies or against the public services that comes through those technologies. And it also, if possible, and to have the kind of the ethicist to check the ethics part, that could be also the second steps. But anyway, it's gonna be kind of the training initiatives within the regions for the regional personnel. In that case, if you have the R&D personnel, if not for the regional personnel, to raise awareness about responsible innovation, I think is one of the first steps. And also design for those values like equality or sustainability, responsibility, and so on. So that is, of course, you can from the R4C probably you get also advice on different tools that can help regional stakeholders in terms of the implementation of responsible innovation and corporate social responsibility. And this comes under this anticipation, but then comes to the inclusivity and deliberation, which it's more or less everything on the region to engage with the business partners, with the stakeholders, engage citizens to address responsible innovation aspects. Otherwise, it's quite difficult, especially for the organization like a region. So basically, region is always working with the different kind of ecosystems, innovation, business ecosystems. And once these steps, these are basically the roadmap. You can, I mean, the region can go through, just write it down to understand. Okay, what is the status? Actually, what we are talking about. What is the cost-benefit analysis of responsible innovation for region? What strategic studies need to be set in place in order to be able to help organization, that particular region, to evaluate the cost and resources for for actions in public services and so on. So it comes to the validation phase. So then a specific action on the specific project, the product, in that case for regions, more services and project need to be evaluated to certain degree. And how normally is done. So it's not that difficult. It's not a rocket science in that sense. So if this example is more for product, but it can be in the public services. Imagine that the public service quality of the region is the case, and it's case by case. We need to you need to understand, okay, what is the cost of that public services and what is the benefit, and if it's not aligned, that needs to be let's say basically that is some things need to be taken into account. So this is kind of the criteria for those technologies that will be embedded into the regional activities and needs to be let's say validated and measured against responsible innovation principles. And how it looks something like this. So so you have some costs for doing responsible innovation, and you may have some benefits, hopefully, for doing a responsible innovation. And if, of course, this is one example and can be changed from the region to other region. So just an example to see, okay, if we are saying in that case, the region image does not have much basically yeah, it's in terms of the benefits is okay, but in terms of the cost is pretty low. So this is comes here, and then so the benefits sorry, the cost of the corporate or like a regional image is quite high, is going to like this, and then the benefits is also quite high. So then when we have the low cost and highest benefit, which is here, it's some things probably is also affect you to do consideration about responsible innovation. That is basically can be changed for the region. So maybe for your region, gender equality has the most beneficial for responsible innovation, but then the costs need to be taken into account. But all of them comes to the fact that yeah, there could be a kind of the road mapping for the region can be written if we follow all the aspects that we already talk. If we know the context, if we know the materiality, and we know that okay, what is important for the regions, then we can set up such a things for the specific region for understanding about what is look like and what is the approaches. For instance, what is the approaches, tools, and actions need to be taken into account to do to mitigate the risk and barriers, and then what are the drivers for doing RRI. So if we have such a things in the region, then you always know, okay, of course, this is also dynamic road mapping, but of course, you know, okay, which tools need to be used, for what reason, and what are the barriers for that. So this is the steps that we talk, and maybe that is back to this road mapping. So if we have in the region, so you can say that, okay, your region, you have some drivers, barriers, and regulation is there for responsible innovation, and then some solution you can see that is feasible. So then you go further and probably foresee and anticipate based on the time to see what can be done, what kind of tools need to be used, and how these are linked to each other. And then once you get the kind of the right morphological link between the actions, so you can go further on for your road mapping, which is comes to such a things as an example. So you understand about what the public services, products, and technology you use, what are responsible innovation, which is this comes from the consultation with the expert of responsible innovation. What tools and approaches actually to be used in the short, medium, and long term, and what are the risks that is basically is going to be most likely be feel likely from your side. What are actually the risks that you want to solve, and what are the drivers and barriers for responsibility vision for going towards the social acceptability and desirability of the innovation that is happening in the region in that context, for instance, energy. So that is all. So yeah, and then there is which has a QR code. So there is a kind of sort of a standard called responsibility by design standard, where you can get some knowledge about how this road mapping can be done more in detail. But I show the steps, how it looks, and then it's up to the regions whether or not they want to depict the picture of the roadmap for each region, and dynamically, perhaps every quarter or twice per year, to update it, and then see what other tools or what other actions need to be done in order to achieve responsible innovation in practice.